Let me know in the comments below. And if this deep dive into the sun's dark side gave you a new perspective on our fragile existence, hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot more to uncover. Imagine a darkness so absolute that the human mind can't truly comprehend it. The void between stars. It is silent. It is freezing. And it is incredibly, terrifyingly vast. For billions of years, while Earth was cooling from a ball of magma, while the dinosaurs rose and fell, while humanity built pyramids and skyscrapers, something was moving through that darkness. A lonely traveler. A ghost from a star system we will never see. It has been falling through the void for eons, aiming for a target it didn't even know existed. Us. Most of the time, the universe feels static. The stars stay put. The planets run on their tracks like clockwork. But every once in a while, the universe throws a curveball. For only the third time in recorded history, we have caught a visitor from the outside. This isn't a rock from our backyard. This is object 3I, Atlas. It is massive, it is volatile, and it is carrying a chemical message that is currently rewriting the history of our galaxy. This is not just a story about a comet. It is the story of a time capsule that was sealed before our sun was born, and we are just now cracking it open. The story breaks on July 1st, 2025. We are in the high desert of Chile at the Atlas facility. This is an automated observatory, a robotic sentry that scans the sky every single night. Its job is usually terrifying. It looks for city killers, asteroids on a collision course with Earth. But on this night, the algorithm flagged something that didn't make sense. It found a faint smudge of light, barely a handful of pixels. That part is normal. What wasn't normal was the math. You see, everything in our solar system lives on a leash. The sun is a massive gravitational anchor. Every planet, every asteroid, every standard comet is trapped in a closed loop. They orbit, they return, they repeat. Even the comets from the Oort cloud, way out at the edge of the system, are still tethered to the sun. But when the computers calculated the trajectory of this new object, the line wasn't a loop. It was a hyperbola, an open curve. In the language of orbital mechanics, a hyperbola means one thing: I am not from here. This object wasn't orbiting the sun. It was piercing through the solar system like a bullet through an apple. It was moving at a blistering 68 kilometers per second relative to the sun. Let's unpack that speed. That is 150,000 miles per hour. At that speed, you could cross the entire continental United States in less than 60 seconds. The sun's gravity tried to grab it, to bend its path, but 3I Atlas was moving too fast to be captured. It was a flyby, a one-time event. We named it 3I. I for interstellar. The third visitor. And immediately the question became, what is it? To understand why astronomers started sweating, you have to remember the two ghosts that came before. Visitor number 1 was Oumuamua in 2017. And Oumuamua was a freak. It was shaped like a cigar, or maybe a pancake. It tumbled end over end, and it accelerated without any visible gas, leading some serious scientists to genuinely ask if it was an alien light sail. It was the strange one. Then came visitor number 2 in 2019, 2I Borisov. Borisov was the opposite. It was a standard, boring, dirty snowball. It looked exactly like a comet from our own system. It was the normal one, so we were stuck with a tie. Was the galaxy filled with weird alien tech, or just standard snowballs? We needed a tiebreaker. Enter 3I Atlas. As the James Webb Space Telescope swung its massive gold mirrors toward the object, we realized this wasn't a tiebreaker. It was a whole new category. First off, it's huge. While the first two visitors were relatively small, 3I's Atlas has a nucleus that is likely kilometers wide. It's a mountain floating in space. But the real shock came from the chemistry. JWST is a master at sniffing out molecules, reading the light to see what things are made of. When it looked at Atlas, it found water, sure, but it found something else in staggering quantities: carbon dioxide. The ratio was shocking. For every 1 molecule of water, there were 8 molecules of CO2. That is wildly different from the comets we see in our own solar system, which are mostly water ice. Why does this matter? Because chemistry is a thermometer. Water freezes at a certain temperature. Carbon dioxide freezes at a much, much lower temperature. This chemical fingerprint tells us that 3I Atlas wasn't born in a warm nursery like our inner solar system. It was forged in the deep, deep freeze. There is a leading theory that is giving astrophysicists goosebumps. The chemical makeup of this comet, combined with its distinct reddish hue, which suggests complex organic carbon chains, hints that it might be old, really old. Our sun is part of the thin disk of the Milky Way, but there is an older population of stars in the thick disk. These stars formed billions of years before the sun, from a different mix of galactic ingredients. If 3I Atlas comes from one of those systems, it could be 7, maybe 8 billion years old. It is a relic from the dawn of the galaxy. It's a sample from a kitchen that stopped cooking eons ago. The scientific community realized they had a deadline. Physics is unforgiving. The comet reached its perihelion, its closest point to the sun, on October 29, 2025. This was the maximum burn. The sun's heat roasted the comet, forcing it to vent gas and dust, revealing its secrets. Every major telescope on Earth and in space was pointed at that one spot. We threw everything we had at it. Hubble for the ultraviolet, Webb for the infrared, the Very Large Telescope in Chile for the visible spectrum. And just to be absolutely clear, because the internet loves a doomsday theory, 3I Atlas is not going to hit us. At its closest approach to Earth in December, it will be 170 million miles away. It is waving from a very safe distance, but as it slingshots around the sun and heads back out into the black, never to return, it leaves us with a profound realization. We used to think our solar system was a sealed room. We thought we were isolated, but 3I Atlas proves that the galaxy is a busy place. It proves that stars are constantly trading matter, swapping rocks like neighbors swapping mail. Oumuamua was a confused whisper. Borisov was a familiar echo. But 3I Atlas? Atlas is a letter. It is a letter written in a chemical ink we are just learning to read. Sent from a star that might have burned out billions of years ago. It tells us that the recipe for worlds is not the same everywhere. It tells us that if we want to explore the stars, we might not have to build a warp drive. We just have to be patient. Because if we wait long enough and if we look hard enough, the stars will come to us. This era of interstellar astronomy is just beginning. If you want to understand the object that started this whole obsession, the bizarre, tumbling object known as Oumuamua, we did a full investigation into why some scientists still think it might have been artificial. You can watch that video right here. And hey, if you want to keep exploring the universe with us, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one. Right now, at this exact second, you are moving. You might feel perfectly still, sitting in your chair or lying in bed. But that is an illusion. You, your house, the concrete beneath your feet, and the air filling your lungs are all hurtling eastward. We are all passengers on a planet spinning at a staggering 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. That is nearly 1,600 kilometers an hour. Faster than the speed of sound. Faster than a bullet leaving a handgun. It is a motion so constant, so fundamental to our biology, that we don't even register it. It's a silent cosmic dance that has continued for billions of years without a single pause. But here is the nightmare scenario. What if the music stopped? What if, in a single, defied heartbeat, the Earth just halted? If the Earth stopped spinning instantly, you would die before you even realized what happened. This isn't a gradual slowdown. This is a sudden, violent brake check on a planetary scale. And the culprit is a simple law of physics called inertia. Think about what happens when you are in a car traveling at 60 miles per hour and it slams into a brick wall. The car stops. You do not. You keep moving forward at 60 miles per hour until the seatbelt or the dashboard stops you. Now scale that up. If the Earth stops, the bedrock stops. But you are not bolted to the bedrock. Neither are the trees, the skyscrapers, the oceans, or the atmosphere. Everything not fused to the crust would instantaneously be launched sideways, eastward, at over 1,000 miles per hour. This wouldn't feel like an earthquake. It would feel like the entire world was suddenly put into a blender. If you were near the equator, your body would be converted into a supersonic projectile. You would be flung through the nearest wall at twice the speed of a commercial jetliner. But you wouldn't be alone. Cars, boulders, topsoil, and entire city skylines would be ripped from their foundations and hurled along with you. It is the ultimate scouring. A supersonic grinder made of concrete and steel sweeping across the continents, pulverizing everything in its path into dust. And it gets worse, because the atmosphere has inertia too. When the ground stops, the air does not. It keeps moving at that same supersonic speed. This would generate hypervelocity winds of over 1,000 miles per hour. We aren't talking about a Category 5 hurricane. We are talking about an atomic blast wave that wraps around the entire planet. At those speeds, the wind doesn't just blow, it scours. The friction between the atmosphere and the stopped ground would be so intense that it would likely ignite global firestorms. The wind would act like a planet-sized sand blaster, stripping the Earth down to its bare bedrock in a matter of minutes. While the winds are shredding the land, the oceans would be unleashing a horror of their own. Water is heavy, and it carries immense momentum. When the rotation stops, the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans wouldn't just slosh, they would detach. Enormous walls of water, miles high, would plow eastward, swallowing entire continents. The Atlantic would crash over Europe and Africa. The Pacific would obliterate the Americas. These mega tsunamis would travel thousands of miles inland, scouring the Earth clean of whatever the winds hadn't already destroyed. In the first few minutes, the geography of our world would be erased. The coastlines you know would cease to exist, replaced by a churning, muddy global ocean. In less time than it takes to watch this video, human civilization would be reduced to nothing. But let's assume you somehow survived the initial impact. Maybe you were in a deep, reinforced bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. Maybe you were near the North or South Pole, where the rotational speed is almost zero, sparing you the worst of the supersonic launch. You emerge days later. The world you step out into is alien. It is a planet remade. The first thing you would notice is the water. The Earth is not a perfect sphere. It's an oblate spheroid. It bulges at the equator because of its spin, the same way a skirt flares out when you twirl. That centrifugal force holds the oceans in place around the middle of the planet. But without the spin, that force vanishes. Gravity becomes the only boss in town, and gravity wants a perfect sphere. The oceans would rush away from the equator, migrating toward the poles where gravity is strongest. This would redraw the map of Earth entirely. A massive new supercontinent would emerge around the equator, a continuous belt of dry land encircling the globe. Scientists have a name for this theoretical landmass: Equatoria. Meanwhile, the northern and southern hemispheres would be drowned. Everything north of Spain goes underwater. Canada, Russia, and the northern United States? Gone. Antarctica? Buried under miles of ocean. The Earth becomes a planet of one massive equatorial ring continent and two colossal polar ice oceans. But the water is the least of your problems. The sky itself has turned against you. Because the Earth has stopped spinning, the 24-hour day is dead. The Earth still orbits the sun, which means a day now lasts a full year. You would face 6 months of unrelenting, scorching sunlight, followed by 6 months of absolute, freezing darkness. On the day side, the sun would simply hang in the sky, unmoving, baking the surface for thousands of hours straight. Temperatures would soar far above the boiling point of water. The oceans that haven't migrated would evaporate. The land would crack and sterilize. It would be a desert hotter than anything we have ever known. On the night side, the opposite nightmare unfolds. With no sun for half a year, the temperature would plummet to hundreds of degrees below zero. The atmosphere would freeze and fall as snow. Not water snow, but nitrogen and oxygen snow.